Hello, Lorenzo here. A mission a day, mission 19, and something that should be straightforward. We are going to launch this module to our space station. It is a lander can jam-packed with science and a tank with a small engine. Now, this might not make a lot of sense as a station module, but once we're in the Julian atmosphere, this is going to be our manned excursion craft. The idea is that this then will be able to visit the other moons, probe around Jule, and should a disaster happen, it could be an escape pod for one or two crew members, in fact just the one. There's a pod here on top. This is because we are now working for a new contractor. Our new contractor is Jay Cheetah. He made a mission pack not specifically for the show, but he did show it to me to test it out. I didn't get the time to dedicate some testing to his pack, so I thought we'd incorporate that in the program. So there's 5 missions as of now. They're fairly basic, but what I noticed is that the rewards are pretty low. So we are going to start out with the first mission straight up, and it tasks us to go to at least 70,000 meters, 70 kilometers. We're going to select the mission and make sure we have the command pod and the communitron. And as in previous missions, this capsule will then return back to Kerbal, where that mission will be completed, the cash cashed in, and we'll remain with a extra module on our space station. Now this mission pays 50,000, this craft got 67,500, so we'll be running a small loss, but as I said, it's worth it if we get an extra module on our station. So on we go to the launch pad and see if this works out. Remind me before launching to check if the Kerbal is in the correct chamber. That does matter. And I need to check if we actually have a remote control. Ooh, some things are very wobbly here. I am not going to launch just yet because I think I forgot some. No, I forgot some important things. We are going to go back to the vehicle assembly building and fix up this craft. First with some struts, because that wobbling looked terrible. Let's go, make this quick. Strut this for extra strength. And I should have a probe core on this, because this is going to carry on to the station unmanned. The crew member is going to sit in this capsule, so this needs a probe core, otherwise I won't be able to command it to dock with the station. Now I will lose control of it, which is of course not the point of this exercise. Yeah, I will just install it like this. It's in the capsule. Sounds reasonable. And I can even put a docking port on that, I think. If I put it like this, maybe then, because I want the docking port obviously to be in the center. This has a docking port because it has to dock, obviously, and also, well, there's no other reason, it just needs to dock, that's it. So put that on top of there. We have some struts for this stability, and now I'm confident we can launch this. So let's go ahead. It didn't deduct us any money for having a look at it, so we revised it, and the Mark II is now launch capable. Now the Kerbal engineer has been telling me this has less than 5,000 meters per second of delta V, which wouldn't even be enough to meet up with our station. But the staging in that plugin didn't account for these tanks, didn't seem to account for these tanks, and certainly didn't account for this one. So I don't know what's going on with that. If it's right, this mission will be an outright failure. If it is, however, wrong, then we will just be able to make it. So this is our station. That still needs a name. I'm going to set it as the target. Time warp a little bit so that we get a morning launch, which is always nicer than a night launch. And then this seems to be a decent orientation. It doesn't really matter. We'll be launching into low orbit so that we quickly catch up with the station wherever it is. As always, if everything goes to plan, let's see, not enough crew. So that's one EVA. As soon as we're in space, Bob has to go from the lander can to the pod to get back down. That's not a problem, I don't think, for the mission controller. No, it's happy. So, as I was saying, as long as everything goes to plan, it will be fast forwarded as usual. If not, you will quickly see what went wrong. So, see you in space. Here's one mistake I want to share with you. There is no fuel lines going from these side tanks to the central tanks. So this was dead weight ballast and we're ditching that now. This could have thrown a spanner in the works, because that is quite significant delta V wastage. I wonder if we're going to make it now, because that was very stupid. Anyway, I'll carry on with the fast forwarding and we will see if we do. So here we are in space. I've just activated all the engines to help with the situation. Is this engine even drawing any? I'm not sure what these engines are eating. This fuel is not depriving. This fuel is not going down, or it's just very, very efficient. Either way, we have tons of fuel left. Too bad that now the lander won't be delivered in any kind of full shape to the station, and the question now becomes, will we be able to boost enough before falling back down? Just to preempt that, I'm going to angle the ship up a little bit so that we increase our altitude even if we are not yet at our periapsis, our apoapsis. I'm not sure what I'm saying. I just want to increase the altitude by boosting upwards instead of by boosting forwards. We could make it, but at this point I'm not that hopeful. Just to make sure, I'm going to EVA Bob into the other capsule, so that if he ends up falling back to Kerbin, he will in fact be in a capsule that will survive such a fall. So abort that, and please throttle back up. We still want to get into orbits, if we can. We're falling down now. This craft has a thrust-to-weight ratio of less than 1, so standing upright and thrusting won't help. So instead I'm going to angle over and thrust forward, so hoping that before we hit the atmosphere I can get enough speed up to actually establish an orbit, get the periapsis that is possibly in the atmosphere, but at least high enough to not crash. And to see if we make that, I'm going to accelerate time here. So let's have a look at that. No, that is probably not going to work. However, we are at 1800 meters per second. And we are here now just getting into the atmospheric interface, which could be a problem in and of itself if we start heating up. This is a pity we just barely didn't make it. Just barely didn't make it. And I don't think we're going to make it now. Let's accelerate time a little bit more, even though it's physical time warp and not the real deal. Our apoapsis is now dropping. No, our engine power is not helping. That means that we're going to cut our losses and at least save Bob, because we are going fast enough to cause us some problems when we hit the thicker atmosphere. I'm going to decouple this node. That means that this station is now trash. We're going to extend the solar panel so we can see them come off. That's always fun. And then we're going to switch to the other craft. This is going to go in a retrograde orientation so that the heat shield may work. And then the fuel tank is going to come off. So decouple that. And now we have Bob here, just in a ballistic capsule, streaking down to the planet. Oh, look at that, we almost made it. Makes me wonder if we actually could have made it, but not now at any rate, that's for sure. Now we are just going to accelerate time forwards until we are back at the ground, which I'll speed up for you, and then we're going to attempt another launch. Right, so there we are on the ground, and Cheetah, I hate to break it to you, but your missions are broken, because we definitely did exceed the 70,000 kilometers, and apparently it didn't save that, and of course you can't be at 70,000 and be landed at the same time, so this mission can never be completed, I don't think. So I'm going to hack that money back in by just doing the mission real quick. I'll be back. Right, I'm back. I redesigned the craft. Well, I added the fuel lines that were missing, and I've deduced what happened with the mission controller plugin. I've hacked back in the money, as I want to do when these things go wrong, and I deleted the mission from the back, and now the second one is the first one available. No matter, little bit of brain surgery going on in the contractor's head, doesn't matter. What happens is that when I switch craft, decouple, detach and EVA around and switch from pod to pod, these mission goals, they get cleared. So it's important that as soon as I decouple the pod on top, put Bob in it, and that then I don't lose focus of him anymore, because then the goals get wiped. So I'm going to make sure that I don't do that. Select this mission for the goal, and I'm going to do something else. I'm going to add engines to this craft because it was horribly underpowered, and that is just going to be an annoyance to everyone. So I'm going to add 2 of these small engines, and they are super noisy, so as soon as they are lit I won't be able to talk to you any good. So I have to redo the staging because, as you may have noticed, I had to do that on the fly in last flight. So hopefully now everything is going to work out. Even the Delta V calculator gets it now. Turns out that last time it wasn't even that was wrong. It was just getting confused because I had built a silly rocket, which is something that can happen. So I added back in the 50,000 we got from that first mission, so we only lost like 15,000. The mission now is going to cost 70,000 and will net us 55,000 if we manage to take an astronaut to 100,000 meters and EVA him and splash him down in the ocean. So that should be something that we can do. Now let's put the crew. Let's not take Bob along this time, let's take Kearney, the reincarnated Kerman, in the command pod Mark 1. Great. And I might need to recruit some new astronauts soon. Anyway, time for a launch. Hopefully everything will go a little bit smoother this time. So the plan is to launch to a 100-kilometer orbit, to there detach Kearney, bring him back home, and then continue with the rendezvous with the space station. So first things first, a 100-kilometer orbit coming right up. Oh no. Oh no, look at that scattering all over. Scattering, scattering, scattering all over. Very simple fault. The rocket, I tilted it over a little bit sooner than otherwise, and what happened is that the decoupling boosters hit the stack, causing the engine to break off. This is something that should not happen. But then again, this is Kerbal Space Program and these things do happen. So it's turning out to be another bad day at the office where a routine mission is going all sorts of wrong. Fortunately, Kearney will in all likelihood get to survive. I'm not going to subject you to another viewing of a almost crash, so I'm just going to cut straight to the next launch where we will not do this. Back on the launch pad, Kearney gets to get another go, and we're just going to go straight up until these side stacks have separated, and then we're going to attempt a turnover. Nothing fancy, no fancy flying. Kearney, get your hands off the controls, and here we go. Right, here we are in our orbit. It's 100 by 120 or something orbit. Now I'm going to detach Kearney in his capsule. Yes, he's in there. To let him go back down. Oh no, before we do that, we have to extend these solar panels, so whatever happens, this craft is not going to run out of power. So we don't need all of them. This should do enough, so we're not going to lose this one. Now I'm going to decouple Kearney, decouple that node, and now it's switched to this one. Now I want to be in this craft, and now what does the mission controller say? It's still happy. We're going to hide this goal, and we are going to do a little bit of thrusting. See, oh, this is a dangerous stage. See if we can't activate these engines. They work. Great, and now we need to do an EVA to make the mission controller happy. EVA, mission controller happy, hide the finished goal, and now we need to land back on Kerbal, preferably in a splashdown. So that should work. I'm just going to do this. I'm not going to show you. You've seen lots of re-entries with just the capsule so far. So I'm going to do it, and I will cut back to you when I am there. So see you on Kerbal, and say goodbye to that weird unsymmetrical space station probe thingy. Bye. There we are again, quick as a whistle. Kerbal has safely splashed down, and we can recover that vessel for what will probably amount to 0.1 science points. And as a less important sub-goal, we can bring Kerbal home. 0 science points. Great. So, let's not forget our main part of this mission, which is to attach the excursion module to our proud station. So let's go back to that. I did install a unmanned probe core as well. These things make the mission a little bit more expensive because we're packing 3 pods on what could have been just the 1, but then again we are recouping some of that money. So here we are, full on electric charge. Unfortunately not full on fuel. What I'm going to do is retract these panels so that they will be safe during maneuvering. You might be wondering, why are there so many solar panels? This is because this is a vessel intended for the Julian system, which is very far away from the sun, so we brought more panels. So the goal of today is to rendezvous with our station, and let's make a maneuver note for that. Of course, it's important to check if the inclination is somewhat correct. It's not, so you can change it a little bit so that it becomes more correct. And then we can drag this marker, and the Kerbal's game, being awesome that it is, will give us approach markers. So we fiddle with the marker until it looks like something that we might want to do, which is really hard at this point. So we're going to drag it around the orbit until we get something that resembles a close approach. 29 kilometers, not that great. I'm going to reduce speed a little bit. See what happens here. What do we have here? 17 kilometers, it's already a bit better. A little bit higher. 12 kilometers. Last time we did 0.7 kilometers, which was really great. But this time we're having a little bit of a harder time, so let's look at that. 28 kilometers, this is not quite enough. 70 kilometers. No. 8.9 kilometers, that's something I can work with. Anything less than 10 basically is what I deem acceptable, and please accept my time warp while I do this maneuver. We're docked, and did I learn that docking without RCS is difficult? Oh my god, I did. Because that is difficult. You saw me twisting that ship around and almost knocking off the solar panel here that I managed to just close in time. Now, I took note that this thing weighs 6 tons when fully fueled, so I'm going to design something that's also 6 tons for this docking port. Then I think there is... Ooh, I'm throttling up, that's very dangerous to do. Then I'm going to probably put a fuel cluster here and an engine cluster behind that. All, of course, to get us to the Julian system with all of the hardware intact. Now, I was thinking I might be able to get away with doing all these missions now, but because some launches were wasted today, we're running low on funds. I'm going to have to look at the missions if they can sustain other launches, but I also want to do a science mission. So I might just do a robotic Val mission before that to get a lot of science and to be able to kit out this station slash expeditionary vehicle with all of the latest and greatest technology. For now though, I'm going to transfer the fuel into the center of the station to maintain a little bit of, well, balance in that. Bill Kerman still lounging in this station, very happy with the new addition, I think. And there are a lot of solar panels. That's basically all that can be said for the station. And the any extra modules will bring RCS, because docking without RCS is just far too much of a pain. Starting to look like something. We have a lot of science modules, not that much fuel, not even one full tank. So I think when everything is done, we will be needing a refueling mission. Sad to say that. Anyway, this was today's mission. I'm going to go for the space center, and tomorrow you will see me either launch another module, or we will be attempting to go to Val. No, I've decided we are going to launch another module, and it will be the fuel module, not the side module, but we will design the fuel module and put it up there. I think that sounds like a plan. Anyway, thanks for watching today. If you didn't do it yet, subscribe, like if you did, and of course share it with your friends. I'm sure they'll like it too. Once more, thanks for watching, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow, 6 o'clock as always. Goodbye.